Firstly, gamers, I have some very sad news to report. As of yet, I have not been able to secure a Switch 2 pre-order. Woe is me. Yeah, in the UK, for some reason, we had silent pre-orders launching on April 3rd, and I myself, as well as I'm sure many others, was patiently waiting for April 8th, which is when the most recent Nintendo Direct informed us that the pre-orders were going live. As of now, all the online pre-orders are already sold out at all major retailers here, although I am hopeful that there are still some pre-orders to be had in store in places like Currys and Smith's Toys. So I think on Monday what I'm going to do is get myself down to one of those places, go on a Nintendo pilgrimage and see if they have any pre-orders left for me. Another hope for people in my situation is that we get an invite from Amazon or Nintendo themselves. I haven't yet got an invite, so I'm not feeling too hopeful there, as I've heard a lot of people have already received invites from these places. But yeah, I'm going to do my very best to get a Switch 2 in my hands, because I'd really like to make some content on it for you guys. I think it's going to be a really, really nice new console to make content for. And I'm also very, very excited for this console, for reasons I'll let you know in just a second. But firstly, let's talk about the hot topic at the moment with the Switch 2, which is the price. That's right, this thing is retailing for around $449, which is pretty much the most expensive Nintendo console released in recent memory, with the games themselves for the Switch 2 retailing for a whopping $79.99 for the digital version and up to $90 for the physical versions. That's right, unfortunately there's been a price hike on the cost of Switch 2 games, a pretty substantial increase from the $60 that the games cost back in 2017 for the Switch. Now, I completely understand how this is really bad news for consumers, myself included, but unlike a lot of other content creators that I've seen post videos about the Switch 2, I was kind of expecting this. I mean, since 2017, the inflation on the US dollar has been about 30%, but games have remained the same price for quite a while. Although the new Switch 2 games seem more expensive than the $60 price tag of, say, Breath of the Wild in 2017, they're actually the same price, since all Nintendo have really done is increase the prices in line with inflation. It's not that the games are more expensive, it's that our currency is significantly less valuable. So although it sucks for us that the games are more expensive, I can't really blame Nintendo for this one. I mean, I don't think it's Nintendo that are in charge of the inflation rates. And after watching the Nintendo Direct and seeing all these Nintendo first-party games, such as, Mario World, with it seems substantially large improvements over the past games, I can't help but think that we're still getting pretty good value out of these games. I expect prices to rise across the industry for games in the next few years, and all that really means for us is, I guess, we're going to be buying less games. At least in Nintendo's case, it looks like the games will be better than ever. And so although we'll be buying less games and we'll have to be more choosy about which games we buy, I think in the end we'll still be getting our money's worth. Now, from what we know about the Switch 2 hardware, I really don't think the console itself is overpriced. I think it's really very, very good value for the hardware you're getting. Considering that adjusting for inflation, the Switch 2 is actually only $58 in today's money, more expensive than the Switch 1 was on release back in 2017. And I would say the improved quality of the experiences you're getting, the updated hardware, the updated software, the game chat features, I think all of this more than justifies the $58 price rise. Adjusting for inflation, of course. That's just my opinion, please. I'm not trying to defend large corporations and whatever. I'm just trying to be positive and realistic about the situation here. Personally, the main thing that bothers me about the price is that the physical games are costing quite a lot more than the digital. And this may be the first gen that I'm priced out of owning physical copies of my games. I think this gen I'm actually going to opt more for digital, with the hope that one day I'll get a fairly priced micro SD card EX, plop it in there and download all my games onto the card to keep my games safe. I think that's the way I'm going this gen. I think I'm going to go digital, and then when the prices come down for SD cards, I'm going to get a micro SD EX of about 1 terabyte or so, enough to fit all my games onto it, and then download all of my games from the Nintendo servers and keep them safe on the little card. Is there any justification for the physicals being so much more expensive? Actually, yeah. So the game cards themselves, I think, are quite expensive to manufacture because they're going to be using high-speed NVMe memory if the new type of SD card is anything to go by, which also uses this technology. That kind of memory is expensive, so if the game is installed onto the card, it's going to increase production price, and so they're passing on that production price to us. I mean, in a perfect world, I think physicals should actually be more expensive to start with than digital. It just kind of makes sense that way, since digital costs less for them to deliver to us. But unfortunately, they've significantly raised the price of the digital games also, so it feels like we've dealt a heavy blow on the digital prices and also the physical prices. I'm not feeling good about the future of physical media, to be honest. I could see a lot of people ditching physical media this gen, and I think I'm going to. This is going to be the first time. I've always gone physical. I got the PS5 disc edition. I always bought my Switch games on cartridge if I could. But yeah, I think with the Switch 2, I'm actually priced out of buying the physical cartridges. I don't think it makes sense for me monetarily this gen. And like most of us, I'm kind of trying to cut down on expenses because, I mean, we're in some kind of economic crisis. Everything is super expensive. And now they're coming for our video games too. You will own nothing and you will be happy, is kind of like the background message I'm hearing with all this news about pricing and how the media is being delivered throughout the industry.
But now that's all out of the way.
I think there's a lot to be positive about with the Switch 2. Firstly, the exclusive games announced at the last Nintendo Direct blew my socks off. We got Mario Kart World, Dusk Bloods, which is a new From Software title that looks phenomenal, and maybe a Bloodborne spiritual successor. A new Kirby Air Riders game. We haven't seen a Kirby Air Ride since the GameCube era. Many of the best titles from last gen and some of this gen making their way over to the Switch platform, such as Elden Ring and Split Fiction. A lot of our Switch games are getting Switch 2 upgrades, such as the Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom games, and other games like Mario Party Jamboree are getting substantial upgrades, not just in visual clarity and frame rate, but also in features. Some of those features using the brand new features of the Switch 2, such as the mouse support, which is another hugely exciting thing that I'll get onto later. And yeah, Metroid Prime 4 is coming to the Switch 2 at 4K 60 HDR or 1080p 120 FPS performance mode. That's huge. I didn't think I'd be playing Metroid at 120 FPS this year. There was also news of a paid tech demo called Switch 2 Welcome Tour, which left a bad taste in almost everyone's mouth. I mean, that's the kind of shit we expect for free from these companies, and yeah, Nintendo are asking for money for this. Not a good look. Yeah, I hope they walk back that decision and make it a free experience for any Switch 2 owner. Yeah, it's just hard to believe this was the same company that bundled a copy of Wii Sports with every single Wii, which was like a $250 console. Finally, the most exciting game announcement for me was definitely Donkey Kong Bonanza, a brand new 3D platforming Donkey Kong game. We haven't had a 3D platformer for Donkey Kong since the Nintendo 64, so yeah, it's been a long time coming. And in this new game, I'm very excited to see how these new mechanics of basically smashing through the earth are going to work. I'm just excited to see how the mechanics of that game work. I mean, it looks crazy. Looks like Donkey Kong is extremely powerful. It reminds me of that old game Hulk Ultimate Destruction, except this time with a Donkey Kong skin, and perhaps even more destruction than that game had. I mean, Donkey Kong looks like he can pretty much destroy every part of the terrain. Those are my most looked forward to games on the Switch 2. Now let's get to something else exciting about the console, which is the console itself, the hardware. God damn, the hardware for the Switch 2 looks beautiful. Nintendo have teamed up with Nvidia, the same company they teamed up with the Switch, and it looks like the Switch 2 boasts many of Nvidia's top features. It looks like it has DLSS, AI upscaling. It looks like it's probably going to use frame gen. I mean, how else are they hitting 120 FPS in some of these titles? The graphics on the game trailers and everything, on the gameplay shown, looks really good, really promising. And I'm excited to get all that gaming power in the palm of our hands. Pretty much every aspect of the hardware looks improved over the Switch. I mean, you got the 7.9 inch screen, which is 1080p so a bump up in resolution as well. It can go up to 120 Hz, so there's double the refresh rate, and it has HDR support, and I love a bit of HDR. Seeing that dynamic range between lights and darks is pretty nice. But there's one thing that some people are mad about the screen, and that is the technology it uses. So it's using an LCD screen instead of an OLED that you might see on, well, the Switch OLED and maybe your mobile phone and other devices. OLEDs tend to boast really great color reproduction, as well as fast refresh rates, low response times,
Infinite contrast ratio.
and great motion handling. But this is not something I expected nor wanted for the first iteration of the Switch 2. And this is because OLEDs have a problem. They degrade. And sure, these days they degrade slower than ever. But if you're a hardcore user of your games console and you use it daily in handheld mode over a period of 5 years, I reckon you're probably going to have degraded screen quality. Now, the same can't be said for LCD. LCDs keep on kicking for years and years and years. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm someone that kind of keeps his games consoles forever. I don't really sell my games consoles, it's one of the things I hoard. And so I don't want a technology that degrades on my handheld, on my lovely Switch 2, which I hope I can get. I hope I can get you, Switch 2. I hope you're not just a dream. Oh, and did I mention the screen also has variable refresh rate, which is huge for the motion clarity of playing a game on the gamepad. It's going to be so good. It's going to look so smooth, so high res. And from what I've seen from previews of people who actually have the device, I'm pretty sure this LCD they put on the Switch 2, it's not just any LCD, it looks like a really, really high quality LCD. And so I actually wouldn't worry too much there. I wouldn't be too disheartened that it's not OLED. That's just my opinion anyway. And this comes from like an OLED enthusiast. I love OLED technology. I own an OLED PC monitor. I also have a 55-inch OLED TV. I love them. I think my phone screen is also OLED, but these are devices that I replace every 3 to 5 years, and I don't want to do that with the Switch 2. The Switch 2 I want to keep. And also, I'll probably mostly play it docked to an OLED screen. So yeah, to be honest, if Nintendo made a screenless version for cheaper, I might get that. So yeah, I'm not much of a handheld gamer. Maybe this will change with the Switch 2 because it does have a lovely almost 8-inch screen. Maybe I'll play it in handheld more, but I never really played the Switch in handheld mode. I always had it docked pretty much throughout the entire ownership of the console. The Switch 2 also has some other niceties, like it has this new hinge that can be put at any angle, and it looks way better than the hinge on the Switch. It's the same thickness, but it's just got a larger screen, so that's nice. I mean, I actually like the thickness of the Switch, so I'm glad they kept the thickness. I'd have been kind of annoyed if they made it thinner and reduced performance headroom that they could have had if they made it a bit thicker, you know, so I'm glad they kept the thickness. The Joy-Cons themselves are larger, and all the new controllers in their lineup, including the new Switch 2 Pro controller, they have extra buttons this time. So you got the C button, and then on the Switch 2 Pro controller you got these grippy buttons which look rather handy. The C button, if you're wondering what that's for, is for their new game chat feature, which basically brings Discord to the Switch 2, including voice chat for the first time. I did just say it's Discord, but yeah, let's emphasize this. Nintendo finally figured out voice chat around, what is it, 23 years since the Xbox did it. Yeah, so we've had voice chat since the Xbox with Xbox Live. That was over 20 years ago. Nintendo finally figured out voice chat, guys. Finally! And you don't have to use your phone as a little doodad to talk to your friends on Splatoon anymore. All these new social features, they seem pretty cool, yeah. So you got game chat, you can share your game screen with your friends. You can even use the new Switch 2 camera to show a live feed of your little face to your friends if you'd like that. Finally, you can scream at that poor person that you blue turtle shelled as you whiz past,
while also maybe giving them the finger.
So on the Nvidia hardware, the specs haven't really been shown fully by Nintendo for what's inside the console, but I'm pretty sure that all the leaks we've been seeing over the last few months are pretty accurate. What do the leaks say? Well, they say that it's got like a 5-year-old top performing CPU in there. It's got some pretty recent NVIDIA GPU architecture in there as well. Much faster SSD storage at 256 gigabytes, which by the way, won't store 8 times the amount of games as the Switch did with 32 gigabytes, because the games are going to be bigger, obviously. I reckon the amount of games you'll be able to store will be kind of comparable to the Switch, Maybe a little more if you include Switch 1 games there, because Switch 1 games will be around the same size. But the Switch 2 games, they're going to take significantly more space up than the Switch games. So get ready for that. You'll probably have to delete a few games to download the new games on occasion. I guess that's the state of modern gaming. It's the same with the PS5. I'm always having to delete games to download new ones. How much more powerful is the Switch 2 than the Switch? A lot more. These are the supposed specs here.
As you can see, the numbers are a lot bigger over the Nintendo Switch, and this means a lot more performance.
So yeah, I couldn't be more happy really about the specs and the hardware quality of the Switch 2. It looks fantastic. The Joy-Cons themselves also have a few tricks up their sleeves this time. Both of the Joy-Cons now have optical sensors, like a computer mouse, and they function as computer mice for games. That means a lot of games now you can use mouse support for aiming, you can use mouse support, you know, for cursor support in games like Civ 7, which was actually also shown off running on the Switch 2. In my opinion, this opens up a lot of potential for third-party games, PC-only games for example, to come over to the Switch 2, which is very exciting. I was even thinking like maybe something that has never been on console before could come to Switch 2, like maybe something like World of Warcraft for example, which really does rely on mouse and keyboard support. Maybe that could come to the Switch 2. I mean, I'm not counting on it, I don't think it will come, but they could probably do it. Now you may think that using the Switch 2 Joy-Con as a mouse is going to be really uncomfortable and unwieldy, but I don't think so. Case in point, this is a Switch 1 Joy-Con. Now, I'll encourage you to try this yourself, right? Grab a Switch 1 Joy-Con, hold it like this, as if it were a mouse, put it down, and have a little feel around, like this. Now, as you can see, you can easily hit mouse 1 and mouse 2, and you also have access to the side buttons. Now, on top of the Switch 2 Joy-Con actually having an optical sensor like a real gaming mouse, it's also wireless and has rumble, has multiple buttons you can reach. It might end up being a better gaming mouse than the gaming mice we use on PC. And I do wonder if the mousing experience on the Switch 2 leads to changes in PC gaming mouse design. Maybe we'll be seeing PC gaming mice with features such as HD rumble and maybe gyroscope. Because the Switch 2 can also do that. It can do gyro like this. Like it has rotation and it has mousing and it has rumble all at the same time. But I mean, I think this feels comfortable. I don't know about you, that's how it looks like in my hand. I have quite large hands, and this is a little tiny, but the Switch 2 controller, well, it's only going to feel better than this, right? Because it's actually designed to do this. The Switch 1 controller isn't really designed for this, but honestly, it feels pretty natural. It doesn't feel too bad. It feels much better than doing this, which is what we did on the Joy-Con controllers to play, you know, Smash Bros and Mario Kart with each other. I mean, this feels ridiculous. It feels like I'm like a clown on those tiny bicycles, except in game controller form. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, the Switch 2, I forgot to mention, it also has larger SL and SR buttons. So these things are absolutely titchy on the Switch controllers. But yeah, the Switch 2 has much larger ones, which is a welcome feature. Has bigger joysticks. These things are also titchy, so that's a welcome feature. It's just larger in general. Very welcome. And the controllers adhere to the console through a magnet latch. So it magnets on and then latches off. So that all seems very, very cool and very positive. Some people have pointed out durability concerns of the mechanism of the magnets. But looking at it, I wouldn't be too concerned unless it's in the hands of a reckless, grubby child with Cheeto fingers. I don't know. The new Joy-Cons also have HD Rumble 2. Apparently they're stronger motors this time, which is a welcome feature because the rumble on the Switch controllers, it was so weak. Honestly, I could hardly feel it. I mean, I'm used to riding a motorcycle around, and maybe the vibration from the bike has like numbed my hands or whatever, but I pretty much can't feel the rumble at all on the Switch controllers. It's very, very weak. So stronger HD rumble gets a thumbs up from me. That's a good feature. In other news on the Switch 2, yeah, I saw a report that there's a Japanese-only version of the Switch 2 selling for significantly cheaper than the multi-language support version selling in Japan. Let me know in the comments why you think they're doing this. To be honest, I think it's some kind of like foreigner tax, right? so that people that are living in Japan but can't speak the language have to pay the price and get the more expensive version of the console. And perhaps it's just another reason to learn the Japanese language, I guess. I mean, it would be pretty awesome if I could learn the Japanese language and import a cheaper Switch 2 for myself. In other Nintendo Switch news, tariffs. That's right, Trump's tariffs have delayed the pre-orders of the Switch 2 in the US by a whole day. That's right, if you're in the US, you're going to have to wait till April 9th to pre-order your console. Nintendo cite tariffs as being the reason for this. Unfortunately, this delayed pre-order may also come with higher prices for US citizens. The new tariffs could negatively affect the price of the console and the games. Fingers crossed they don't. I would hate to see the prices raise even more than they already have. Anyway, I thought I'd make this quick video on why overall I'm so excited for the Switch 2. Please let me know down in the comment section about your thoughts on the Switch 2 and the Switch 2 news, the Switch 2 drama. I'd be very happy to encourage some discourse about these things. Really hope I can get a pre-order. Really hope any of you that want the pre-order can get one as well. Of course, there are already tons of scalper listings on sites like eBay for Switch 2 pre-orders, so the scalpers are doing their thing again, unfortunately. But I'm hopeful that real gamers can get these in their hands. There'll be more Switch 2 and Switch 2 game content coming from my channel, so if you're interested in that at all, please like, subscribe, hit the bell button. My socials are down there in the description box. Join the Discord if you're not joined already. And until next time, Koroku! Bye-bye!